I mean, we talked about this since we first met each other, even before he was committed and I was committed. And it's moments like these where you really cherish that brotherhood.
All right, there, JJ McCarthy, courtesy of mgoblue.com. Good afternoon. Dennis Fithian here on the Maize and Blue Review. Good afternoon, Michigan football. You know what? We're here the weekdays at 1 o'clock talking about the latest in Michigan sports. And for the longest time, this had to do with Michigan football. They've had a hell of a year, as you know, and we're counting down the days now until 2023. But really, we're all counting down the days till New Year's Eve. Let's be all, let's be up front, be clear about that. Coming up straight ahead, we're going to talk with a former Wolverine, Jim Scarcelli. We'll connect with Scar. And Scar has been looking at some film of TCU. He'll talk about, he's been through multiple bowl preparations back when he was playing for the Wolverines. So he has that experience to lean on. We'll ask him about that. Plus his thoughts as he watched TCU from a coaching vantage point on what he thinks of the Horned Frogs. And then he'll actually put up the tape and we'll be able to see what Scar is talking about visually. If you're listening on the podcast, that's good. Then, you always got a chance to go back and watch the video, and you'll be able to see exactly what Scar's talking about. I always like to answer questions. Let's get to a couple of those, and we'll get to Scar, who I said I would call at 1:05. So I've got a minute or two. Josh is saying as we get closer to finding out what the updated NIL situation is for Michigan, what was the reason for Michigan's slow start with the name, image, and likeness? The former president, boosters, he has a question. Mark, NIL, something that all summer long I talked about. At times I was like, yeah, another day to talk about the name, image, and likeness. If I had to answer it quickly, and I'm going to answer it quickly, the reason for Michigan's slow start with name, image, and likeness, Michigan was taking not necessarily a wait and see approach with trying to go after players, but Michigan decided that they were not going to give signing bonuses, upfront money, promising players money to commit, which is against the rules technically. Now, nobody's enforcing the rules, and almost it seems like all of the teams are promising signing bonuses. So, that would be the reason, the biggest reason that Michigan is lagging behind. Yeah, they had a change at president, so you had to get the president on board, and the athletic director. Things are going well, and they've got a lot of donations coming in, and I know somebody who's very engaged as a donor, and all throughout the years, he's given money to a lot of charitable, he's a lot of charitable foundations and different things, and now. And he gives to the university, and then, here comes the university again, kind of, and saying, okay, yeah, you've done all that, you're paying for this, but, how about you come over the top with a couple million for some players? And, so, there's that thing. Michigan for the longest time has, played it one way. And, there have been a lot of teams that have been in first on before name, image, and likeness who, already have their system all set up. So I think those are the major factors. A lot of nuance when it comes into NIL, and like I said, I talk about it quite a bit. And for at some point, people are like, okay, we get what you're saying with name, image, and likeness, and I get it too. I'd just like to see it happen. Lyle wants to know about hot recruiting news. Oh yeah, we're counting down the days. What's today? We got the 12th, so a week from Wednesday is the early signing period. Michigan, I'm expecting, I'm hoping, I'm not saying I'm expecting because I'm not the recruiting guru right now, but, considering Michigan's spot and scholarships to give, that I would say hopefully expecting some flips and some surprises. Do I have one to tell you about right now? They've been doing well, not necessarily for this upcoming class, 2023, but they've been doing really good for the class of 2024. And, if you just look at Harbaugh's tenure in his 8 years, he has had a class, the Ronnie Bell class, which was down, and everybody was like, "This class sucks," and it ended up being one of his better classes. So not that you want to say, hey, let's sacrifice a season or let's go back to that 25th ranked season and hope that these guys can all coach them up and develop them. It would be you'd feel a lot better. I know how that is. You feel a lot better if you get a bunch of 5-stars. You're sitting out there saying, 5 stars are very exciting. 5 stars are you go to Christmas Day and you look out there and you say, wow, look at that gigantic present. That's a 5-star. And then sometimes, your best present is a little box over there that's maybe even in your stocking or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, that's where it's at. Speaking of Christmas and the big fella, I wanted to and here he is, Jim Scarcelli, joining us on this Monday. Scar, it's great to see you. How was your weekend?
Danny, it don't get no better than that, man. We got a undefeated Michigan football team. We're all happy about. And then how about these Detroit Lions? People are fired up, man. So I was just telling you, I will be in New York next week watching the Lions play the Jets. So fired up about the Lions.
Football's a funny game when it comes to coaching. During that Lions game, the Lions are they're up a touchdown, but they go for a fake punt in their own end on a 4th and 7. That's a crazy call, but when it works and you go blast it down the field, that's one of the big plays of the game. And then the Vikings are getting ready to go in with one of the better backs in the league in Dalvin Cook, and they go for a jump pass. A Khalil Mullings jump pass down on the goal line, but Cook shuffles his feet. Next thing you know, the ball squirts away and the Lions recover. And you're like, the announcer's like, the Vikings were getting too cute. And you think, yeah, you get too cute and it doesn't work, you get crushed. I mean, that's one of the things when it comes down to coaching, when to go to that bag of tricks. And if it works, a lot of times, you're getting the praise. It's, oh, this guy's got guts. And it doesn't work. You say, this guy's an idiot.
Yeah, Denny, the call is one thing, to fake punt from your 30 or to throwing the ball to the big offensive tackle. It's one thing to call those plays, but it's all about, it always gets back to execution. If that play call, the jump pass, the tight end was wide open. They just didn't execute it. We blocked that darn fake punt perfectly. We blocked it. We executed it. We threw the ball beautiful to our big offensive tackle. So those, it's about just, it still gets down to execution.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Sometimes it comes down to the design. The jump pass, throwing it over the middle. I don't like the I don't like the geometry. Normally you're looking. You want an entry or an angle to be able to throw the ball, to the to the receiver. And having a running back jump up where so many things can go wrong, in the middle when you're coming up and, you're asking so much to go on there. I don't like any of that. Now, it worked for Michigan. It ended up being great. Everyone say, oh, it's a great call and everything else. I don't like all the different things that go into that. I'd have been like, I don't like that. I don't like it at all. When Tebow did it, Tebow's a quarterback and so there's a little bit more to it, but tackle eligible. If you see the guy go out there enough and he's able to, he's got soft enough hands and you're throwing it to him, you practice it 100 times and the guy's catching it, 95 times, maybe you feel pretty good, or 100 times you feel pretty good about it. But the old jump pass, pretty tricky when it comes down to it. The fake punt, if you automatically see something Like, I don't know if it's on Dan Campbell and if special teams, they say, look, anytime we see that we've got an overload or whatever, we're overloaded to the right and they're not respecting it, go for it. I wonder, if they're pinned back to their own 10, if they would have done that. I mean, they're back at their own 30, like you said. Those are the interesting things to me.
Yeah, and it was just good to see execution, and people are fired up, excited. The coach is, he's creative on offensively, and and same thing with the Michigan coaches. The analyst who's going to rip on the coach for being creative or trying something. He's the same guy who's going to rip on the same coach if he tries to run it 3 times in a row and now he's kicking a field goal. So, which pick your poison, man. So sometimes when you coach, you got to be creative, and Michigan's coaches are creative, and we've had success being creative because that helps when you are creative with different stuff, it helps your bread and butter plays, because defense have to honor some of that stuff.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's a results-oriented business. I mean, you can try the craziest play, and if it works, you're a genius. It doesn't, then you are going to get ripped whatever way you try. You get too conservative. I understand that part too. I realized, just what a wonderful game football is this week because, you have Michigan football fans, and I saw a lot of them this weekend saying, oh, this weekend was boring. I can't wait, until New Year's Eve. And it's so long of a wait. And I know like the Super Bowl, you get in, you watch the playoffs, you wait all year long, and you get the championship Sunday, and you're ready. You're ready. The football week, you get the game. It's so exciting. Even Sunday, Monday, everybody's talking about it. By Tuesday, you're still looking back, any pieces that you need to pick up. By Wednesday, you're kind of looking ahead to the next opponent. You get Thursday, you get a little nervous. By, Friday, it's the eve of the game. It just sets up so perfectly. And then you have the games. And even the bye week, people are like, I don't like the bye week. Michigan football, I want it every day. You're so used to it. And now it's like that here with the bowl season. It's like, Michigan, they had the extra week, which was great, for the fans. It's obviously for the team to win the Big Ten. You get that bonus week, and now you're just like, you want more, but you got to wait all the way to New Year's Eve. And that's the tough part from, just from the fan. But what can you do about that? But it just reminded me how much, just football sets up where, the week is perfect, and just how you go through the whole thing and how everybody's just so programmed to, to want it. Every 7 days.
Yeah, it's especially nice to want it when your team is winning. You right. Look forward to it. So yeah, we've we got a lot to look forward to. The game will be here before you know it, but it's about preparation now, Denny.
Well, let me hear about preparation. Michigan got out on the practice field this morning at 8:00 after taking some time off. Certainly the players did. Coaches were out there recruiting, but so New Year's Eve's on the 31st. Today's the 12th. So what do they got? 19 days, 20 if you include today. Let me ask you about, you were the last player to play in the, Michigan played in the Fiesta Bowl. So, you know all about going out to, is it called the desert, or, going out to Arizona. Give me a word or two on bowl preparation and what it's like, what you remember.
Well, I was lucky to be on 5 teams that went to bowl games, so I saw the prep, and there was we got a couple days off after the last game, and was the Ohio State game at that time, and then you got right into some we call bowl conditioning. You get a little time off, but then you got to get into your running and lifting, and we had maybe 10 days, 2 weeks of that, and now apparently they've started practicing already, as you just reported, and I remember. In preparation for the bowl game, because you were always going to a warm climate, is Bo would crank up the heat in the indoor building. We weren't practicing outdoors getting ready to go to Arizona. So they were hot. It was hot during conditioning, and it was hot in practice to try to acclimate your body the best you can. And the philosophy, and I don't know if Jim does it, but I know Bo's philosophy was he wanted to get the majority of the hard, tough practices in Ann Arbor before we went out. Now, we used to fly out on Christmas Day. So we would practice and up until maybe the 22nd, something like that, somewhere 21st, go home for a couple days, and then we would always seem to fly out on Christmas morning. I don't know. I don't know what Jim's plan is there, but he wanted the tough practices in Ann Arbor, and then when you get to where you got to go, you have maybe one tough, obviously you're practicing, trying to get acclimated to the weather. And because this game is going to be on grass indoors, right, Danny? They're playing at the indoor on grass field. So it'll be a good fast track there. But, our guys we play so many bodies. The heat won't be a factor for us because we rotate so many people, and it'll be a good surface. So, I think that's the preparation is what it is. I think Jim probably is pretty similar in his thinking, get the tough work done in Ann Arbor, and then fine tune it in Arizona.
Well, I'm going to watch the Monday Night Football game tonight. You got New England traveling out to Arizona to play in Glendale. They're playing in that stadium, so you can imagine, the Wolverines being in there and everything else. Even though you've watched, Arizona, and you watch some, Fiesta Bowls and championship games played there. Now you'll be able to look and say, oh yeah, that's going to be happening in 19 days. I wonder, you talk about when they're leaving and everything else. This is the same game plan and the same situation with Michigan having gone to the college football playoff last year. I know it was in Miami, but the routine and the schedule, I wonder how much you think that helps the coaches. It helps the players where they have gone through this once. They know what to expect in terms of the news conferences that they have to be available for, the different hoops and everything else that they jump through, the fun that they do, leading up to a bowl game and what they did last year. And, having the kind of I don't know, it's not a lay of the land, but having that itinerary that the players and coaches have gone through, maybe a little fine tuning. That seems like it's an advantage to me. What do you think?
I don't know, Danny. I mean, TCU, it's about bowl preparation. Some of the extra media might be something that's different, but bowl practices, bowl preparation, Dykes and his team. I don't know. I'm sure I think they've been to bowls before. It could be a minor thing in terms of some of the media attention, the extra interviews, but the bigger thing, what's more important though, I think, is just how smart is the coach in terms of not beating the team up. I think you got to be really smart. And how much contact are you going to have? How much scrimmaging are you going to have? It's a fine line. You got to get just enough, but you don't want to beat your team up. You want to get your guys healthy that have been beat up. I remember, after the Ohio State game, I was just beat up, and you need that time. And then you got to be smart enough not to re-injure people. So that I think is a bigger factor, Denny, is, let's get smart with the preparation. Let's have great game plans and making sure guys aren't doing anything stupid out there. I've been on teams where guys got sent home, late for curfew and doing dumb things. And it's happened. It happened all the time. The press didn't always know about it, but hopefully our players will be smart. Nothing of no one will do anything stupid out there. And we'll have great preparation from our coaches, and we'll be ready to roll.
Yeah, we don't want to hear any stories like that. You're right. Yeah, it's one of those things that I've heard it a couple times. It doesn't sound like you're buying it. Like, last year Michigan was just happy to be there, getting into the college football playoff. They beat Ohio State for the first time in a long time. Everybody was relieved, happy, going to the college football playoff. It was a gigantic opponent in Georgia. Michigan was a big underdog. This time, kind of the tables have turned. It's not that it's old hat to be in Ohio State, but it's not like, hey, that was a once in a lifetime. They just did it the year before. And the thing is, you mentioned it, TCU didn't go to this is Sonny Dykes' first year. I mean, this thing for TCU, they're living a dream. It was smashed by them, their perfect season, but they still get a new life and getting in here. But, Sonny Dykes wasn't it wasn't at TCU last year. They didn't go to a bowl game. This is his first year. So I don't know those particulars. You're not buying into necessarily any of that.
Danny, I look at the, when I look at the facing Georgia last year and that great Georgia defense with Jordan Davis. There is nobody like Jordan Davis on that TCU defense. They don't have the kind of athletes that Georgia had on that TCU defense. So, we can talk about all this other stuff. We're not facing that Georgia defense. And that's a bigger factor than all this other, all these other talking points, in my opinion.
Yeah, and maybe they will face Georgia, but it'll be a different Georgia.
And that's not the same Georgia defense. That team is not the same team. I think, and we're not the same team. So things are, things are much better for Michigan. We're a better team than we were last year. We're doing more things with our quarterback, and I just, we're a better football team. But we're gonna get into TCU. We're gonna look at some film in a minute or so, and I'll show you some things that, Denny, as a coach. I always, many times you'll have to play a team, your team's on your schedule, and you'll have a first observation. And many times it's like the team is really good and you're like, oh man, they're good. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know how we're going to stop this team. I don't know how we're going to, and then the more and more you look, you're like, I don't know how good they are. Now TCU, when I looked at them, as I watched them play throughout the year, a little bit throughout the year, I was like, man, we're going to get TCU. I'm loving that. They're not that very good. And then now I'm starting to look at film, and the more and more I look at film of them, I'm like, man, they're pretty darn good. They do a lot of things. They're better on defense, and they're going to be tougher I thought we were really going to have an advantage running against that the 3-3-5 defense they run, but they do a pretty good job of defending it. But there's some kinks in their armor that we're going to find, but they're a better football team than my initial, TCU observation.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the film. I'm anticipating that. You said we'll get to it in a minute or two. You're formidable if you go undefeated, and you're right there, and you're in the. There's only 4 teams, and they deserve to be in there. They deserve to be in there over Alabama. They were that close to going 13-0. If they would have ran, Duggan down there at the goal line, they probably would have been. So they play in that really tight game against K-State. And then you look, they have been in a double overtime game this year against Oklahoma State. They went to Texas. That was a huge game that everybody was looking at, considering Gary Patterson was the defensive coordinator over at Texas, and Texas is supposed to rule the state. And then here was TCU, winning that game and having the undefeated season. That was a huge win, a 1-possession game in that one. I was talking to somebody that is a TCU fan. He was telling me, hey, Iowa State's defense is pretty good, and we put up 62 points on them. So they feel pretty good. And, they also feel like, they can come from behind. The first Kansas State game, they were down 28-10 in the second quarter. And the other thing, that Baylor game on the road, they feel like, not that they feel like they know how to execute in a tight game. They're getting a tough spot. They went out there, they had practiced it, getting their field goal unit on and the amount of time. But, as the time's ticking out, everybody's watching it like, oh my God, they're screwing this up. But, with like 2 seconds to go, field goal kicker, boom, hits that game winner, walk-off winner against Baylor. My point to all that is that this team has played in a variety of different games and been able to come back in some big spots. They got to be pretty confident about themselves.
Yeah, they're a good team. They offensively, when we start to look at them, they're a lot more. They're very similar to us. They run a lot of the same stuff that we run. I didn't realize how much they run. 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends. They'll put, the quarterback will come under center at times. They run a lot of pistol. We don't really run the pistol formation so much, but they're similar. They'll come out empty. They run with tight ends, and they like to be physical. And now defensively is where there's a difference, and schematically, but they adjust well to all different types of offensive formations and schemes, and that's what we do. We adjust to all different types of offensive formations and schemes. So we are very similar to this team on both sides of the ball.
All right, and with that, you have a telestrator, and you are going to all year long. You're taking us through the Michigan games, which has been, I've watched the game differently now that I've done these Monday shows with you, Scar. Watching the different plays and different things to look for. So I've been not only entertained, but I've learned something. So from that part
All
of
right,
it.
Denny. Well, let's take a look now. This is them on defense here in Baylor. We don't really run a pistol so much, but the back is right behind the quarterback. But here's tight ends. Here's two tight ends here. This is an unbalanced formation, and I see these three defensive linemen, and you would think, we're going to be able to run the ball over here. But what Baylor started to do a lot of, and I think our coaches will look, our offensive coaches, I think, will look at the Baylor game more than any, because of how they adjusted to stop a lot of the formations that we run. And Baylor started to run a lot away from the tight end, because you'll see how much TCU really brings these backers to the tight end side. Because you'll see plays I'm going to run a little later where they run power in here. They're going to run power just like we do and pull and kick out. And the same plays we run in Baylor, you'll see these guys flying up here. And this is why Baylor was having a little success running away from the tight ends. So we don't run that play that Baylor just ran. But we run plays that are similar, or we could run power weak and just not do it with the same technique they did there. But I see us running away from our tight ends in addition to running to them. Okay, tight end and fullback adjustment and techniques versus M. Here we go. This is here's a fullback, and this is Baylor. So let's see how they run. How are they lining up against a fullback with two tight ends here, and they've short yards, they pick it up, but Michigan coaches are gonna look at the adjustment. They're gonna look at how are they lined up. You got a head up guy in the center, and it looks like these guys are playing inside eye of these tackles. So they're playing what we call 4-eye techniques. And
that doesn't look like a 3-3-5 to me.
Well, that's because of now they're bringing these guys up. They're bringing these backers up. And this is what you really want to do, Denny, against these teams, is you want to force these guys to play at the line of scrimmage, because they're not used to it. This scheme is really, really good against the spread people, when you got, and we'll show spread formations later, but now you want to force these guys to play and take on guards or take on tight ends, these outside backer guys. You know what I mean? You want to get them out of their comfort zone. And let's see how this is a short yardage. They pick it up, but there's nothing, these guys they're good in there, man. So here's outside zone. We run this play. We don't run it from the pistol, but here's your 3-man front. And they're moving this first drive. They just moved this team right off the ball, which was encouraging for Michigan fans. I don't know if they threw maybe one time. This is their opening drive, and they just push them off the ball. This is the 3-man front. I like to see, this is what I like seeing, Denny. This is what you like seeing. You like see how these guys are getting moved. This is what you hope for, because you got to believe our offensive linemen are every bit as good as these guys, and they're getting movement in here. Look where this guy is. I mean, they put him into the end zone. So those are things I like to see against similar plays we run. So here, again, we've got them on offense. So I think our coaches are licking our chops versus this looks. Now here's your 3-man front versus a little more spread. But it's still, there's a tight end here and there's a tight end here, and they still only have 3 guys here. I'm not sure what the down and distance here. I can't see what the down and distance is here, but this looks like a great block. We got down, he's inside here. We got down blocks. We got good angles. So when I say licking our chops, I think we have good angles to block this front. Let's see how they block it. Let's see what we run. Oh, they cheat up the safeties late. But still, they get outside. And we run this play. I mean, this is one of our best football plays. Okay. This is what we run. We're going to block down and we're going to pull and kick out. We might have it with our tight end or a guard, but we run this play, one of our best plays. We block everything down. We kick out. The guy doesn't keep leverage, and we got a back every bit as good as, if not better than that kid. So that's the kind of stuff I like seeing, because that is again, that's a formation that I like. And here's the power scheme. Again, here's an unbalanced bunch of tight ends in the game. We run this kind of stuff. Again, we don't come under center so much or have the back so deep, but this formation, this is unbalanced. They only got a guard and a tackle over here. And look, they still only have 3 guys at the line of scrimmage, but they got a bunch of dudes up here and they're trying to adjust. I'm not sure if they adjusted how they want to, but that's power play. That's our favorite football play. And they're ripping them in there pretty darn good. And it's just, again, you got good. Look at that. Those are great, easy angles, and then block down, and then you're pulling and kicking out.
Yeah. So those safeties and whatever was going on there, they were totally confused. They weren't ready to go at the snap.
Yeah. Well, maybe they didn't see this formation, but we have the advantage of going against this is you're going to have you got good angles here. And now you got these guys, they're going to take on linemen, right? But they're off the ball. And the advantage is, okay, now we're going to, they're off the ball, but these are athletic, fast guys. So our linemen got to be able to block small, fast guys in space when we run our power play. So it's an advantage that we're bigger. We got a bigger dude pulling out there, but we got to be able to block these guys in space. And one of the advantages now with the rule changes, these guys can't, the defenders can't chop at the knees of an offensive player. You know what I mean? Now, yes. I guarantee you, Coach Minner and Clinksdale on day one when they're introducing TCU, they talked about this kid here, this Johnson, number 1. We got to know where he is at all times. He's a big 6'3", 6'4" receiver, and he's good. He's big. He's like the Michigan State kid, that they threw jump balls up to. And we got to know where he is all the time. Here's 2nd and 10. But this is something we haven't seen much of, is 2 backs in the backfield. So we just haven't seen it. We don't see it much in the Big Ten. And it can mean anything. It can mean run. It can mean pass. I don't know what it means. I haven't watched enough film of these guys. But here they are just throwing a ball to this big kid. And he is a big, tall, athletic kid. And we got to, he's the number 1 priority. But they got other receivers that will hurt you. So we've got to, we got to be smart when we give him a lot of extra attention, and our coaches will. But he reminds me of the Michigan State kid. Now here we are on defense. They do very similar. This kid is like, I think JJ's better, but this kid is similar. He's an adequate passer with being a real good runner. And they run a ton of bubble. Here they are out of 2 backs, motioning out of 2 backs. And, Baylor doesn't defend that bubble very well. We got to defend it. Denny, they're very similar to us on offense. Very similar. A lot of formations that we run. Bubble is a big play. I think our offensive line is better. I think our quarterback is better. They got some good receivers, though. This kid is good. Oh, which one is this? This is a different guy. The receivers might be a push. Their receivers impress me. So here they are. Here they are faking. This is the play we run. We run this same stuff. They're faking power, and now they're thrown off of that. To a big athletic receiver. They picked up some of these guys in the portal. Here we go. Some red zone QB run. I think short yardage against this team. Here's 2nd and goal. They will run this kid a lot. So we got to know, we got to understand that. Here's we run this play with JJ, same play, right? Same stuff. Read the mesh point, right? He's reading that. He's reading something in here. He sees this kid close down. So he's pulling it out, right? Same thing. We run the same play, so we should be able to defend it. And then they block it out here and they score. But this kid can run. He's a tough kid. He's a big kid, and they're not afraid to run him. So short yardage, red zone. I think we're gonna do a good job against their tight ends when they run that stuff. I think we're gonna defend it well, better than they defend our. I think we're gonna defend their 3 tight end, 2 tight end offensive schemes better than they defend us. You follow me on that?
Yeah.
So when they get in those formations, I just think we're gonna defend them better than they will. Okay, huge weakness of the 3-man front. Now here it looks like 1 back. 3 receivers here, 1. So this is a 31 formation. I used to call it 1 back, but there's only 3 guys in here. Let's take a look at this play. You know, the weakness I'm talking about is, you know, these guys are lined up inside of these tackles. Okay, so you have a hard time containing the quarterback. So the way they do things is they'll have one of these guys that will come late, probably depending on which way the quarterback rolls. I'm not sure how they coach it, but I think it's a disadvantage because you have no one just from alignment that can contain the quarterback. So I think I like the advantages we have in terms of pass protection, being able to pass protect. So what they do is I think that's what they're seeing. This guy sees the quarterback roll. And now he's going to come up, but it's kind of late because your quarterback gets outside the pocket, you know, and now he can throw a nice ball, which they do. So I think schematically, the 3-man front, I like it in a lot of ways, in a lot of standpoints, and this is one of the big ones. So I like that. And we're going to give our guy time to run. You kidding me? And find people. So I like it. We got to take advantage of it. Here's TCU on defense with their 3-man front. And again, tight end here. Option versus Iowa, always looking at formation down and distance. So it's 3rd and 6. We ran the option 1 time with JJ. We didn't run it very well. But here they are running it. And TCU defends it. They had a guy there. They just didn't make the play. Lets it outside the defense. But anyway, we run this play. It's in. You know, and this kid just I don't know what he's doing. He had it defended. But that's actually good to see that. You know, I'll be honest with you. As a coach, you look at these things. You look at, you know, where's, you know, old Hayden Fry's line was put salt on the wound. So we're evaluating all these players. You know, who will tackle, who will cover, who can play the power play. You know, which guy can we block down on better? And they're evaluating all these guys. You know, which guy can we throw on? Which guy can we throw the bubble at? So this guy here, I like the way he's defended. I like that. I mean, he don't want to tackle nobody. Look at him, 24. That's terrible. So that's good. So hopefully we can find him in a couple weeks. So this is the stuff this is how they now here we go. This is what we run. We run this stuff. Here's a tight. Maybe this might be a tackle. I don't know if this is a tackle here, but here's a tight end. Here's a tight end. These are all big dudes under center. So here's TCU defending this. They bring it, and I didn't like seeing this because the guy's kind of smart. He's got 5 big guys in the game. These are 5 defensive linemen, and he's got 2 big outside backers in the game. So the guy's kind of smart. I didn't really want to see it. You know, Don Brown used to frustrate me. He would still have only 3 guys in the game here, and in this type of a situation, and we would just get hammered. This guy at least brings in 2 more defensive linemen, and he's got 2 big outside backers up on the line of scrimmage, first and on the goal line here. Let's see if Baylor can get it in. They run a jet sweep with the tight end, and they fool them. We ran this with Alls. Remember seeing this play with Alls? We ran jet sweep with him. I haven't seen it with Scooney, but that's a good play to have in against that look. So anyway, that play will help our offense because you're going to see how they line up on the goal line. You understand that, Denny?
I do. Okay,
this is a big thing. This is 3rd and 3. We got to know where this kid is, man. This is number 1. You can't coach height. I think we put who did we put on the kid at Michigan State? We put Green on them. Who do we put on them?
I think Turner. I think both Green and Turner. They moved them around. I don't think Michigan moves their corners, so they moved them on both sides. I thought it was. I think Turner got him. He got Turner once. Yeah. He got Green another time.
But we will have a game plan for this, because look what they do. They come out on the goal line, and again, this is where I think we have an advantage, because I don't think their offense is as difficult to defend in the red zone as Michigan's. You know, if they're throwing on 3rd and 3, you know, they get down in here. I like our chances. I think we're going to win the red zone game on both sides of the ball. I believe that. I believe we're better. I believe we're built better to defend their red zone. So now they get the penalty. Now here they come in our stuff. I didn't like seeing this, because that means the coach is kind of smart, because he has a diverse offense. So here's a tackle here. You got guard, tackle, and these are 2 tight ends. So we run this stuff, only not so much from the pistol, but they got it in. Let's see how good a job they do blocking it. And they block it in there, and they do a good job with it. So, but we're going to be better. You know, Baylor, I mean, I don't know what you're doing. You got nothing in that gap. So that's a terrible defense. We're going to be smarter than that. There's nothing in there. But they do have it in. That's our stuff. And I didn't like seeing it. I'll be honest with you, Denny. I was hoping that they were just a little more spread. But here's the last play. I'm looking at, again, Denny, I like these angles. Here's three down linemen. Jet versus this look is good. Here they are running. Baylor's going to run jet. These are easy blocks. And again, these are angles. Look at it's like they're giving you 4 yards. You know, they're giving you 4. Let's see what they run. They run jet. And they, you know, and then they get it. Now they break it. So you see why I like this. Coaches call it maybe a blocking surface, because these are easy blocks, you know, and these are easy blocks. Now you're pulling, and these guys are going to engage 3-4 yards deep. So I like it, because they're easy down blocks, and you're forcing these guys to take on big offensive linemen. So see, down block, easy. He's got angles. Down block, easy. Got angles. Now this guy, this is a little defensive back going to take on this dude. So that's why I like that matchup. That's an easy kick-out block. Now he's going to lead up and through there on another safety. That's a nice matchup. So this is why schematically, personnel-wise, you know, Big 12 football, you know, you run that 3-3-5 in the Big 12. But Danny, that's all I got for today. I don't want to beat it up too much. I'll have more next week. Look at some, but the Baylor game, I think, is a good game for us to evaluate, seeing what they do on offense, seeing what Baylor did on offense. And I just like our chances that we're going to defend when they try to get physical. We're going to handle it.
Yeah, what I like looking at that, you know, Michigan, when they have their offensive line, it's not like, you know, they're just you know, put their hand in the dirt and firing off the ball. All of the guys, all 5 of them, can pull. They're pretty athletic, and we have seen them get into the second tier of the defense. So you see all those big Baylor guys getting out there, and you know, if you're a big guy and you can't move, you know, that could be tough. But all of Michigan's guys are athletic enough to get out there and you know, get into that second level. So I feel pretty good about that. You know, defensively, Duggan ran for over 100 yards, 15 carries, 110 yards in that Big 12 championship game. If Michigan can, you know, stop the quarterback run, you know, they're going to stop the run overall, but the quarterback real key. And then, you know, those jump balls, those seem to, if I'm putting down keys, which I will be over the next, 19 days, those 50-50 balls from the corner, how the hand fighting, how that's going to be called. You almost have to assume that they're going to let a little bit of that go. Fighting out that, I feel pretty good about the different guys that Michigan has there, but also, you know, stopping that quarterback run. They're able to do those things. Feel pretty good. I don't know. We'll have to look at that Texas tape a little bit. You know, the Doak Walker Award winner, Bijan Robinson, was held to 29 yards in that game, and they held the Longhorns to 10 points. So I don't know what they were doing defensively in that game. Now that one was before, this game. So, maybe.
Well, Denny, that's why I like what we run on offense. Texas doesn't do some of the things we do. They're a little more of a spread. They want to spread it more, and that TCU defense is designed better to stop spread. We do run some spread, but I wanted to get it. I want to look at Baylor, and I know our coaches want to look at that too. But yeah, Denny, I would say defensively, we got to continue to do what we've done. Have a sound, multiple, conflicting. They can't get a beat on us. We're going to get a good handle on their run game, and we got to know when can they run the quarterback, what plays do they run them off of, and we have answers for all that. We've seen Leah over at Maryland, and we've seen teams that want to run and pull their quarterback. And look, we had trouble with the Maryland kid at times, but and it's a weakness of it. Anybody that has a quarterback that can run. JJ is a problem for them defending the run. So they're going to be concerned with the same kind of stuff. And those plays are hard to defend, the quarterback runs. That's why people run them. So we've got to do, the best we can to kind of mix and match and not let old Sonny get a beat on what we're doing. But we're going to take, I think when they want to try to play physical, we're going to win that battle. And when we want to play physical on offense, I think we're going to win that battle. Those are two advantages, I think. All things being, the equal is when either team tries to play physical, bring the tight ends in football. I think that's advantage Michigan, both sides of the ball.
Great job, Scar. It's advantage anybody who takes your picks when they are able to go out there. And, I took your advice and I went with Army. They were the underdog against Navy. I got to tell you, it wasn't looking all that good, but, that game got really good late in that game. And they got into overtime. Navy threw their first – Army, scores a touchdown in overtime. Navy hasn't thrown a pass or completed one all game long. And I fire off a first one for a touchdown. I was like, wow. What a game. And then I don't know if you saw the highlight, the Navy kid, you feel terrible for him. You could see him on the sideline agonizing, after he fumbled the ball and they lost the game, down at the goal line. So, but the point of all that is you picked Army, and Army was really good for you, even though Big Bear on ESPN was laughing at your pick and saying, this Army team stinks. He was saying, and you doubled down on Army, you tripled down on Army, and they made you look good. Good job.
Danny, picking football, you got to understand matchups. That's why when I look at our matchup with TCU, I'm looking at what do they do on defense? What's the strength structurally of their defense? And that's my thought. My picks are based on I'm not listening to the Bear or any of the guy. It's I'm looking at matchups. When do we have a good advantage? When do certain teams, like I've watched Army and Navy, I watched those teams play, and Navy just for some reason over the last few years they're not as physical as they were, and that's cost him his job. I mean, Coach Ken was there for 25 years. He got fired, and now in the Army guy, I just think I found a way he was more physical. They were a more physical football team. Now, look, they won the game at the end. It was a tight game. Could have gone either way. It was overtime. Yeah. But I think in the long run, Army was a little more physical. And at certain times, certain match, I took them 3 times this year. They covered every single time for us because I liked the matchup. I liked who was defending them. And but these bowl games, Denny, I used to have my picks now. 10 years ago, I would have had all my picks in. I used to make bets early at this time, but I can't. You're crazy to try to bet now on some of these bowl games because you're going to have a quarterback say, right before the game, he's not playing, and the coaches are purposely telling them not to say anything so that the other, the opponent doesn't have an advantage in their preparation. So, I just you can't even pick these bowl games until you right before kickoff. You get you get the information who's in, who's out.
Yeah, that's tough for people that need to put them in for the, all 41 games coming up till Friday. Hopefully people didn't already put Kentucky down because, all their key players have decided they're going to skip it. All right. Very good job today, Scar. I know you're going to have a great week. You're going out east, going to do some game watching yourself, some live game watching, some basketball and football. So that'll be a fun trip. Can't wait to hear about it next week. Thanks for your time. Great job.
All right, Denny, go blue.
There he is, Jim Scarcelli.